We had a meeting of the Liberian delegation, Tangaba, Jangaba, all these people. And we said, look, it is time to go to Monrovia and tell President Doe that this thing will not work. He should please leave. We had that meeting because Abbas Bundu, the Secretary General of the ECOWAS at that time, came to us and told us that President Babangida has sent him to Liberia to negotiate with Doe about how to help stop the war, and that Bundu had gone back to President Babangida and told Babangida that there is no need to continue to support Doe because Doe had gone crazy. That was a war propaganda. That Doe had gone crazy. He had smoked so much dope in the mansion and he was gone crazy. When he speaks, he was incoherent. Ask Jenkins Scott, ask the other people on the delegation. That is what Abbas Bunu told us. And with that in mind, ECOWAS wanted us in Freetown. Mr. Tangaba Jangaba, President pro tempore of the Senate, was then looked at as the logical successor to Doe, and the person with the most power at that point in time, because as far as they're concerned, the Doe government had collapsed because Bunu said Doe had gone somewhere and his mind was absent. Okay, so they wanted Jangaba to look at himself as the power broker, and with that they wanted Jangaba to let Jenkins Scott draft a statement stating that Doe was incapacitated and could no longer be head of state. And with that, then ECOWAS will step in and call for immediate fresh election. We got to tell you the story, man. You don't come into a place and you want to humbug me. Nobody will humbug me. So, Jangaba met with us. We decided to send a group to Monrovia to talk to Doe. They said, who will carry the message to Doe? We drafted a letter to Doe telling him we wanted to negotiate his terms of resignation. We wanted to negotiate his asylum and everything. So they said, Bala, you speak Krahn. So go to Doe, sit down and don't talk English. Talk this thing in Krahn. Let him know the game is over, so that he can leave. Let there be peace, because the NPFL boys are prepared to run down Monrovia. Babala said, yes, I would love to go, but you all remember when Oscar Quia and I told Doe to let us follow some constitutional thing in order to bring this whole crisis to an end. Doe got vexed with us and he told me and Oscar never to go to the mansion unless he invites us there. We said, yes, we remember. He said, but I'm not going to do. He didn't invite me. Why am I going to show up? The second thing is that if I show up to tell him that he got to leave, that's worse. So I can't go. So, okay. Jenkins Scott, second man, you are the legal advisor to Doe. You are major in the armed forces of Liberia, Minister of Justice. Go and convince your man to leave. You know, Jenkins speaking American parlance, you know, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm a major in the armed forces of Liberia. I cannot go and tell my commander-in-chief to resign. Therefore, I cannot go. So Jenkins Scott could not go because he couldn't tell Doe to resign because he was major and Doe was commander-in-chief. So they said, okay, but then let Dr. Tappet, Dr. James T. Tappet, director of the Babangida School of International Studies, you are Doe's teacher, teaching him international relations. You go now and tell your student the game is over. Convince him to leave. Dr. Tappet said, I was sent here as a consultant to the delegation. The role of a consultant is to advise you, not to go and make this kind of decision. Therefore, I cannot go. So, okay, Then why don't we let the President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate, Tangaba Jangaba, go back to Doe with his authority as President of the Liberian Senate? Everybody has scattered from Monrovia. He still has this authority to go to Doe and talk to him that the legislature now like calling on the president to resign. So Jangaba, you go. Jangaba said, no, he can't go. So why? He said because ECOWAS is here negotiating. The Interfaith Mediation Committee is here, and all these people are coming around. He, as head of the delegation, has to be there to negotiate with these people. Then Jangaba said, but why Puya can't go? Then I said, why should I go? He said, but Puya, you always telling the people what Doe say. So now time for you to go tell Doe what the people say. So you are going to Monrovia. I said, okay, I'm going. I mean, I was not scared. I don't know why I didn't get scared, but I just said, okay, I'll go. Prepare the letter, I'll go. So they prepared the letter that Doe should give us the authority to negotiate his resignation and all of that. While we're talking, we receive word from the Guinean embassy that the Guinean ambassador wanted to see the delegation urgently. Now I want you to listen to this keenly, because some people came and said, well, we brought the Guineans, for April 14, I will go to that one later on. But some people wanted to say that they brought a Guinean troop here during they negotiated for some Guinean troop. But the Guinean ambassador called upon Jangaba and ourselves and said, I have a message from my president, the same president that now contact. He wants to come and help the government to put down this rebellion, to stop this war. He is aware that there is a treaty between Guinea and Liberia, a mutual defense treaty or pact. And this pact can be invoked by any side, but it has to be the side that is at a disadvantage. So since Liberia is experiencing war, the Guinean president will be happy if the Liberian government will invoke this treaty so that Guinean soldiers will come and intervene. And he told us, we have 5,000 troops ready to land at Springfield Field today. That was June 1990. The only thing we want is a request from President Doe, formal request from President Doe. But my president will have me inform you that the ambassador to Guinea, who is currently in Liberia, not when I say currently, I mean June 1990, okay? The ambassador of Guinea in Liberia, June 1990, is not from the same tribe as the president of Guinea. And we have suspected that he has been involved in all kinds of things that are not in the best interest of the president of Guinea. Therefore, Doe should not and never send any messages through this man to the president of Guinea. So this request for the 5,000 troops to land at Springfield Field any hour after we receive the request should be sent through the embassy in Sierra Leone and not the embassy in Liberia. Is that clear? We told him, yes, it's clear. So now I was coming to tell Doe to leave, and then added to that, I was bringing another message that the Guineans are ready to send 5,000 troops and land them at Springfield Field. I arrived in Monrovia. It was about June 26 or June 25, one of those days. When I was leaving, I left the Mercedes-Benz, white Mercedes-Benz car I was riding at the airfield in Cinco, Springfield Airfield. Carry my keys with me, because when I arrived, I didn't want to be looking for a driver. I simply wanted to rush back to the airfield and leave in case of anything. Always see beyond the years. Do not just plan for today, look at day after tomorrow. I arrived at the airport, put my keys in the car, warmed it up, and I drove from Springfield in Cinco to the executive mansion. That was the same time that Charles Taylor troops took over Painesville. There was now one car that passed by me on the road, from Springfield to the executive mansion. I brought my glass down. I didn't want any air conditioner. I wanted to experience what was happening. I wanted to hear the talk in the street. People were yelling at me, "You stupid, and where you going? You stupid, why you didn't stay? Where you come by here for?" I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't stop to ask them. I drove straight to the mansion to see Doe. June 1990. When I got to the mansion and got out of the car and parked it, as I was walking into the front entrance of the mansion on the bridge there, I saw Ambassador Bennett Pearson, Liberian ambassador to the state of Israel. And we had a nickname. We called each other the Heat, because of John Scotland's newspaper headline that used to say the heat is on. So when something tough is going on, we say the heat is on, the heat is on. So Pearson, I saw him, he said the heat, I said the heat. Then he told me, he said the real heat is on now. I said yes. He said, Ambassador Pearson said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "But what are you doing here?" He said, "The Israelis sent me to tell Doe, to give Doe a code. I'm supposed to explain this code to Doe for 3 days. If he does not agree to the code, or he does not understand the code, I'm supposed to leave and everything will be over." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "By the same message I brought, ECOWAS has given up on him. As far as Babangida is concerned, Doe has gone crazy because of the news they carried to him." And let me finish with that part of it before I go on. We have been at war with the NPFL. I have been a damage control man for the government. But I must tell you today that NPFL had a superior public relations machinery. Superior to the government. Because they work together, they pool their resources, and they were not fragmented like us. They're taking $1 million and giving it to 2 persons to go and run public relations and leaving your information ministry. So Taylor had the upper hand. He sent his agents into Freetown, Sierra Leone. Waldron Greaves and the Mirai brothers went into Freetown, Sierra Leone. And Waldron Greaves was the one who explained the story to me. He gave me, he said, "Puya," I said, "Yeah." He said, "We're going to beat your man, we're going to whip his butt." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Oh man, sit down here." He said, "You see Abba Bunu?" I said, "Yeah." The Secretary General of the ECOWAS? I said, "Yeah." He said, our drinking buddy." He said, "We came here with cash." He said, "Look at here, the people want to put you out of the hotel, you ain't got money to pay hotel." He said, "We came here with cash. We have paid Abba Bunu's 3 years in advance to rent his house in a compound where he lived. As a result of that, every evening we sit in the yard and we sit together here, our drinking buddy. Anything we tell you, you will do it." And he said, "You know what happening?" I said, "No." He said, "You didn't know that Bundu told Babangida that Doe gone crazy?" I believe him because Bundu told us that Doe was gone crazy. So those guys convinced the ECOWAS people, and the whole deck was stacked against Doe. The NPFL had a superior coordinated public relations machinery. So I told Pearson that I had come with a letter from the group signed by everybody in the group, and I have that letter today somewhere on earth, secured. You can come and break into my place. It's not there. You will not find it. My children will get it later on if I do not be there to see it. And that letter said to Doe that it was time for him to leave, and that they had sent me to get information from him to negotiate his term of departure, his asylum, etc., etc., because Bundu had told us that Doe agreed to leave. So Pearson and I went upstairs to Doe. He came with the Israeli formula, the code from the Israelis. And since we're no longer at war and it's not a secret code anymore, the code was, and the code is, a good general knows when to retreat. A good general knows when to retreat. In short, young man, if you leave now, we will bring you back. If you sit there until the enemies are at your doorstep, you will be a sitting duck. There will be nothing we can do to save you. So leave now, because a good general knows when to retreat. I'm giving you all this so you can see what the situation we're in. We say we're fighting war. The chief of staff already said the army can't win a war. The former minister of defense, who is ambassador, comes back to say a good general knows when to retreat. I am giving an order by the Liberian delegation to tell Doe you got to leave. Then I get upstairs and Mr. Charles Julu calls me, and he's in town here. He just got free the other day and he's in town. I don't know where he is, but you can find him. Mr. Charles Julu, the commander of the mansion guard who had been sent to the front, called me in a small room next to the Minister of State office. We usually call that the confessional room. You know, when you go to the church, you go in a small room where you confess to the priest. So we usually say that people come there, you carry the minister of state in there and you talk to him. We call it the confessional room. So General Charles Julu took me into the confessional room and he said, Puya, I said, yeah. He said, you got to talk to the chief. Now everybody wants Puya to talk to the chief. Puya, you got to talk to the chief. I said, what happened? He said, the war not going right. He said, look, my daughter in Boston, every day she calling me crying. The people harassing her because I'm in the war. I participated in the war. The chief taking the money and giving it to all kind of foolish people. They come and say they kill rebel, he just gave them money. They war, how will we win the war and not coordinated? Everybody doing something. The chief want to be commander on the field when he in the house. So you gotta go talk to the chief. Charles Julu told me that. Charles Julu is still alive. All my witnesses are alive. So now here I was from the delegation in Freetown telling Doe to leave. From the Israeli telling him a good general knows when to retreat. And from his strong man Charles Julu begging me to beg the chief to do something. So I'm the big mouth boy who got to talk all these things. And I agreed to talk them. So Pearson went in, saw Doe. I didn't see Pearson again to say when. But Pearson had 3 days to explain his code to Doe. So when he came out of Doe's office, he left the mansion. I didn't see him again. Then time came in for me to go in. I went into President Doe's office. He had on his red, round, red Nigerian cap, red and white t-shirt, his barrow t-shirt, a white short trousers, and he was standing up to meet me. So he shook my hand. He said, my man, what are you saying? I said, yeah. Then he said, you heard how we whipped the people the other day? I said, which people? He said, oh, you didn't hear those foolish people who talk about monkey come down to a demonstrating against me? You were in Freetown, you didn't get the news? I said, no, I didn't get the news. He said, oh, man. We whipped them, we get a soya rotten all around. When they started out fooling them, they whipped them. So he talked. Then he said, what you say? What you give up? I said, I came to see you. He said, for what? I said, for a lot of things. I brought 2 messages for you. One from the Gambian government, one from your own delegation. So One is good news, one is bad news. So what you want to hear first? He said, like, give me the good news. I said, okay. The good news is that the Guinean president wants to help you with 5,000 troops to be landed at Spring Field whenever you request. But he does not want you to send the information through the Guinean embassy in Monrovia because the man there is not his friend. You should send a message through the Guinean embassy in Freetown. I think the man there knew a Hadara or something. Anyway, it can be checked through the diplomatic handbook that the Freetown man name. So if you want him to help, just send the message through the ambassador and the troops will arrive any minute you call for it. He said, okay, what the bad news? I said, well, Abba Bunuto or he came to see you. He said, yes. I didn't give him the letter. It was in my briefcase. I wanted to, you know, when you deal with damage control, you got to test the water before you drop your net. I said, Abba Bunu said he came here to see you. He said, yes. I said, okay. Abba Bunu said that he discussed with you about your terms of resignation and your asylum. He said, yes. And that you have been discussing with the president in Nigeria and things were all right and you were going to go into exile. He said, yes. I said, well, the delegation just called me, sent me to find out whether what he told her is true. And if it is true, then you can authorize us to go back and negotiate your terms of resignation and your asylum and all of that. Then he kept quiet. And he looked at me a long time. He said, Booyah? I said, yes. He said, who started the war? I said, Charles Taylor. He said, okay, Charles Taylor started the war. Why you can't go tell Taylor to leave? Why you can't tell me to leave? Why you want me to, why you're all against me? Why you want to tell Taylor to, That foolish Gerard man, stupid man like he, Army threw him, he bought out the other day, the British people had to come and pull him back. Now he chairman of the ECOMOG want me to leave. I'm not leaving from here. I would die here. I'm not leaving from here. He said, Booyah. I said, yeah. He said, you see those ships behind me? That were the American ships that were on the sea at that time. I said, yes, sir. He said that all I'm waiting for that you see man in this town. I just waiting for the white people to come on show. I will die killing white people. Well, what he might not have known is that those people might have had the ability to hear what he was saying, and he didn't know it. So he was saying, I will die killing white people in this town here. That's why I'm waiting for that nonsense they're talking about leaving here. Let them come here, I will deal with them. He quarrel. Then he rang a bell. The minister of state came. He said, send for the Guinean ambassador. I had told him, do not deal with the Guinean ambassador in Monrovia. Deal with the Guinean ambassador in Sierra Leone. But he still sent for the Guinean ambassador in Monrovia. I could have told him, Chief, you are not supposed to deal with the man, you have to deal with the other man. But he was in a rage. And so I was about to speak peace to my soul. I just looked. Send for the Guinean ambassador. They sent for the Guinean ambassador. He turned to me, when you going back? I said, I'm going back tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you. I want to shake your hand. No, I want to shake your hand. Get out of my office. I look at him, and my mother taught me how to fix my face in such a way that you are not smiling, you are not frowning. You got a blank face. So I adjusted my blank face, and I walked slowly backwards from him. It's a long way to the door. I walked slowly backwards, kept looking at him because I assumed in my mind that if I turn my back, the guy could think I'm insulting him, and then something will happen.